There comes a moment in life when the familiar stories stop working. You do what you are told to do. You follow the rules. You chase meaning, success, and purpose. And then, without warning, the question appears. Why? Not the practical why, but the deeper one. Why live at all? Why continue when the world offers no clear answers? Albert Camus believed this moment is not a crisis to be avoided. It is the beginning of philosophical honesty. Camus called this confrontation the absurd. The absurd is born from a collision. The human need for meaning meets the universe's complete indifference. We ask for explanations. The world responds with silence. This silence is not cruel. It is simply factual. The universe does not care whether we understand it. Most people try to escape this realization. Religion promises cosmic justice. Ideology promises historical purpose. Personal ambition promises fulfillment. These narratives soften the blow of meaninglessness. But Camus believed such escapes come at a cost. They require intellectual dishonesty. To accept comforting answers without evidence is, for Camus, a kind of philosophical suicide. He was deeply influenced by the trauma of the 20th century, war, occupation, mass death. He saw how ideologies justified violence by claiming absolute meaning. Camus rejected these systems. He believed that once people convince themselves life has a guaranteed purpose, they feel entitled to sacrifice others for it. The absurd removes that entitlement. When meaning collapses, something unsettling happens. You realize there is no final justification waiting for you, no ultimate explanation, no moral scoreboard. This realization can feel unbearable. It can provoke despair. Camus took this despair seriously. He opened his most famous work with a shocking claim. The only serious philosophical problem is suicide, but he did not advocate death. He investigated whether life was still worth living without meaning. His answer was radical. Yes, but only if we stop lying to ourselves. Camus argued that the absurd does not demand resignation. It demands revolt. Revolt is not anger directed at the world. It is refusal to submit to false hope. To revolt is to live fully while knowing life has no ultimate meaning. To remain conscious, awake, and honest. This honesty is painful. It strips away illusions. It removes guarantees. But it also returns freedom. When nothing is promised, nothing is owed. Each moment becomes its own justification. Camus used the myth of Sisyphus to illustrate this stance. Condemned to push a boulder uphill forever, Sisyphus embodies absurd labor. The task has no purpose, no conclusion. Yet Camus asks us to imagine Sisyphus happy, not because his suffering disappears, but because he owns it. He knows his fate. He accepts it without appeal. Awareness transforms punishment into defiance. Modern life often resembles Sisyphus's labor. Endless work, repetition, and striving without final satisfaction. Camus believed the tragedy is not the repetition. It is the unconsciousness. People push their boulders believing meaning will appear at the top. When it doesn't, despair deepens. Camus removes the false promise, and with it, the false disappointment. He believed that once we accept the absurd, we can live with intensity rather than expectation. Without hope for final resolution, we learn to value presence. Beauty becomes fragile and immediate. Love becomes precious because it is temporary. The absurd is not nihilism. Nihilism says nothing matters. Camus said something different. Nothing matters eternally, and that is why moments matter now. For Albert Camus, the absurd is not a theory. It is a condition. You do not solve it. You live with it. Any attempt to escape it through belief, ideology, or transcendence is a betrayal of lucidity. Camus rejected both religious salvation and philosophical abstraction. He believed the human task is to remain present in contradiction, to live fully while knowing life cannot be justified beyond itself. This is where revolt becomes essential. Revolt, in Camus' sense, is continuous defiance. Not violent rebellion, but inner refusal. Refusal to accept lies. Refusal to submit to despair. Refusal to escape into illusion. Revolt is lived honesty. With revolt comes freedom. If there is no higher meaning, then no external authority can dictate the value of your existence. You are free, not because life has purpose, but because it does not. Freedom emerges when expectations dissolve. You stop living for outcomes and start living for experience. This freedom is fragile. It must be renewed daily. Camus believed that consciousness is tiring. Lucidity demands effort. This is why people retreat into belief systems. They offer rest. But rest, for Camus, comes at the cost of truth. He chose exhaustion over deception. Camus also believed the absurd fosters solidarity. When no cosmic justice exists, responsibility becomes human. Compassion is no longer commanded by doctrine. It is chosen. Suffering is not redeemed by future meaning. It is alleviated here and now. This made Camus deeply ethical. He opposed systems that justified killing in the name of ideas. He believed life's value lies precisely in its lack of justification. Because if life has no guaranteed meaning, then no life can be sacrificed for one. Living without appeal means accepting that existence does not answer us, and answering it anyway with presence. Courage and restraint. Camus did not promise peace. He promised dignity, the dignity of living without lies.